G'day, we're going to have a look at this Asus ROG Zephyrus M16. This is the 2022 model. Now, this is a gaming laptop from Asus and it has a 16-inch display in a 15-inch form factor. Now we're going to have a look at the features as well as the temperatures and fan noise, and I will, of course, as always, we'll be putting timestamps along this video so you can skip to different sections that you may be interested so you can save you time. Now, first off, we'll start off what this computer can be configured with. Now, with the processor wise, it is using the newest 12th gen Intel Core, and you can get up to the i9. As for RAM wise, it has a maximum capacity of 48 gigs. Now that's a funny number. What that means is we've got 16 gigs that's soldered to the system board, and then you got one SOLDIMM slot which you can upgrade RAM later on, which has a maximum capacity of 32 gigs. Now, as for storage wise, we've got two M.2 slots for NVMe, and of course it can actually take on the 2280 format SSDs. As for discrete graphics, it can go all the way up to the Nvida Geforce RTX 3080 Ti. Now that is a very powerful graphics. With the display, we've got a 16-inch Quad HD display that has a refresh rate of 165 Hz. So this is definitely one of those displays that can do gaming for those who love the fast refresh rates and response time of a display. Measuring the color gamut coverage of the wide quad extended graphics array, which measured in at 480 nits of brightness or luminance, it resulted with 99.8% sRGB coverage, 85.3% Adobe RGB coverage, and 98.2% DCI-P3 coverage. This is quite a nice, good display to work on images or manipulating images as well, or even doing video editing. And I tested out outdoors, and this thing was having no problems outdoors, even in the bright sunlight. And in shade, of course, we have no issues at all for consuming multimedia or even doing your looking at documents. Now, but this computer here, I expect it to be pretty much indoors, as this is a gaming computer. More likely you'll be playing in the dark. But this display here is actually quite bright for what it is suited for. As for the backlight, I did not find too much light leak around the edges, and as for the bezels, they're actually quite narrow on either side, and also on the top and also on the bottom. So it's pretty much near edge to edge display that I find. The M16 does have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth, and it does have a 720p webcam located above the display. Now, I do wish it does have an option for a 1080p webcam, as we're in 2022 and we do a lot more content creation as well, doing more video conferencing. So it'd be nice to see a 1080p webcam option for the next iteration. This is a recording from the 720p webcam from the M16. This is the video and audio unedited, so you can hear and see what the quality of the webcam is like. Now, I've got two types of lights currently turned on. I've got my one studio light turned on, and I've got my down lights in this room turned on for ambience. Now, I'm going to turn off my one studio light off, and my two down lights in front of me is quite far away, so there's not much light currently hitting on my face. So this is what I consider a dark environment. Now, if you're in an office environment, you should get much more light than what I'm currently at. Now, I'm going to turn my one studio light back on, and you hopefully see this adjust. Now, I find that this webcam does adjust a little bit slower than a lot of other webcams, and also I'm in quite a high ambient noise at the moment, probably what you would call is considered around about 48 decibels, because I've got a few computers running tests. So I definitely love to hear what your thoughts are of this webcam. Put a comment below. There are 6 speakers in the M16. We've got 4 that is located on either side of the keyboard, and then we've got 2 more located on the bottom end, on the edges on the front end. Now, when I tested out the maximum volume of the speakers, it managed to measure it in a peak of 92.4 decibels, which is what I would consider quite loud. So they actually got very good volume. If you're listening to multimedia outdoors or even doing some presentation outdoors, I don't find you'll be struggling too much with these speakers. As for the sound quality of the speakers, we do have quite a bit of bass. Now, it does attempt at the low end frequencies, but doesn't really hit those low end frequencies like the MacBook Pros. But still, I'm going to give it to Asus for trying. And as for the mids and highs, they are quite balanced. It also balances with the bass as well. Now as for the acoustic wire, we've got 360 degrees and we've got quite nice reverb as well. So overall, the actual speakers in this M16 is surprisingly very good. I actually quite like hearing the sound quality from the speakers of the M16. Audio sample of the speakers at 100% volume of the Zephyrus M16. The Zephyrus M16 does come with a 90 watt-hour battery with a 240 watt power adapter. Now, I did test the M16 in my battery life test, and I tested my 5 different modes in Windows 11. Now, as a gaming computer, I don't really expect much battery life, as traditionally most of the powerful components do drain a lot of power. So in best performance mode, it managed to get 50 minutes. In balance mode, it managed to get 55 minutes. In best power efficiency, it managed to get 1 hour and 30 minutes. In battery save mode, it managed to get 2 hours and 30 minutes. And in my medium mode, it managed to get 3 hours and 40 minutes. And as always, as a disclaimer, my battery life tests do put a very consistent workload across all the system resources. So you should actually get better numbers than what I'm giving you at, as most applications and also games won't hit all the system resources as hard or as consistent as my battery life test. So I'm just giving you the worst case scenario. The weight of the Asus Zephyrus M16 is 2.08 kilos plus the 240 watt power adapter becomes a combined weight of 2.81 kilos that you might be carrying around with you. As for the temperatures and fan noise of the Zephyrus M16, when I took my measurement, my ambient temperature was 22 degrees Celsius and my ambient room noise was 36 decibels. Now before I read out the numbers, as always, your average hand is anywhere between 33 to 34 degrees Celsius. So that hopefully that gives you a bit of reference points for how hot or how cool this laptop could be. Now I took my base measurement when the computer was on idle, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 35 degrees Celsius. As for the fan noise, it hit a maximum of 36 decibels, which is practically quiet. And the average internal core temperature was 45 degrees Celsius. Then I put 20% load on the computer, so that's average use, so tasks like office productivity work, streaming videos, surfing the web, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 39 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 39 decibels, and the average internal core temperature was 56 degrees Celsius. Then I put the computer on 50% load, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 40 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 42 decibels. And as the average internal core temperature was 66 degrees Celsius. Then I put 100% load on the computer in balance mode, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 50 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 49 decibels. And the average internal core temperature was 76 degrees Celsius. I also measure the computer when it is in turbo mode, so letting the fan spin up at its maximum. And the hottest area on the keyboard also measured in at 50 degrees Celsius. As for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 55 decibels. And as for the internal core temperature, average was 87 degrees Celsius. I also measured the bottom back cover when it was in turbo mode, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 60 degrees Celsius. And of course, the fan noise stayed at 55 decibels. Let's have a look at stability performance of the i9 in the M16. Now this one's configured with an i9-12900H processor, and on the Intel website reports it has a maximum turbo boost of 5 GHz. That's for the performance cores, and also 3.8 GHz for the efficiency cores. Now they can run all the way up to 115 watts if you want to draw that much amount of power for turbo boost. Oh, it's mostly around about 45 watts. It has a minimum assurance watts of 35 watts. Now, I've had this computer running on 100% load for the processor, RAM, hard drive, and putting off quite a bit of load on the graphics and discrete graphics as well. And I have this computer connected to mains power and set to turbo performance mode for the fan scheme. And I've had this running for over 4 hours for this load, and we can have a quick look at the processor, and we can see that it's stable anywhere between 2.6 to about 3.2 gigahertz. So I would average that out around about 2.8 gigahertz is really its stable clock speed, but it is fluctuating quite a bit between 2.6 to 3.2. And I'll just give you a little bit more breakdown for each cores, performance cores and efficiency cores, so you can have a look at that one there for how that's running. But overall, the temperatures, you're looking at probably, I would say, an average of around about 94 degrees Celsius. It does go down to about 82 degrees Celsius, but it just keeps going up and down, and that's pretty much it's throttling itself tired. But Windows reports that this process has a base clock speed of 2.5 gigahertz, which this is above 2.5 gigahertz, which is good to see that it is going up, but we do see a little bit of throttling coming down for the turbo speed. As you can see, from temperatures do spike up to about 97 degrees Celsius and then drops down to about 82 degrees Celsius. So it is going up and down. There is a little bit of throttling for the turbo speed throttling, but it does at least reach the base clock speed of 2.5 gigahertz, which is good to see. Now we have a look at the single core behavior in the i9-12900H processor, and I'm going to start a single task in Citybench R23, start the clock watch, and we can hopefully see the processor behavior and the speed of it. Went to about 4.2 to about 4.4 gigahertz right now, and I'm just going to give you the P cores and E cores you can see underneath here. So we got to about 4.4 now, heading closer to getting 4.5 gigahertz, and now we're just dropped down to about 4.3 to about 4.5. So it's ranging anywhere between there in the first 30 seconds. Now we're just about to finish in very close to about 7 minutes and 30, the single core task, which is blazing fast for, it's probably one of the fastest processors out there I can see. And we've had pretty much a consistent speed of anywhere between 4.2 to about 4.5 gigahertz. It's pretty much ranging in that zone. Well, I would say it would average around about 4.3 is probably the best way I would say as an average for the performance. Considering this Zephyrus M16 has an i9 with an RTX 3070 Ti and such a low profile, I think this thermal solution that Asus has done on this M16 has done extremely well. Having a look at the keyboard, we've got a nice decent sized keyboard. We've also got very nice smooth finish to each individual key. We've got nice large size keys as well, and a nice spacing in between each keys. Now we do have quite a bit of tactile feel to it, but we've got quite a nice travel distance for each individual keys. And they are backlit, which are RGB backlit colors, which you can actually configure in the Aurora application, and you can have change to a bunch of different lighting schemes. Having a look at the trackpad, we've got a nice decent large trackpad, but not overly large where it becomes annoying, because I didn't find the palm rejection was engaged much on this trackpad. Now it is got a very nice glass smooth finish to the trackpad, and it had no problems registering my touches and also presses. Now it is mechanical, so it is hinge at the top, and you can depress it below after that. Now surprisingly, normally with mechanical keyboards, I find that a lot of the depressing where you can actually feel the deep press is around about 50% and below. But surprisingly, in this M16, I think after the first centimeter, you actually start to feel that you can actually depress, which is surprisingly means this trackpad does very good in depression and also feel and also the clicks as well. As for the palm rest, we've got a very smooth rubberized texture to the palm, which actually has a very good friction and hold to the palm as you're working on the keyboard. And it is something that I might be concerned later on down the years, probably around about 5 or 6 years down the track, as I found this sort of rubberized sort of texture does wear out a little bit and becomes a little sticky. So that's something that I might be a little concerned much later in, just to give you from my experience. But whereas before then, this is actually quite nice feel to the palm rest and has very good grip. As for the build construction of the M16 2022, it is pretty much plastic all the way through. So plastic on the top cover, plastic on the bottom cover, and I think it's pretty much reinforced plastic along each side, but they're actually very strong to the point where I think it could be metal. Now, as for bend and twisting, I find it actually very sturdy. It doesn't really bend that much or twist that much at all. And also with the keyboard, we have quite sturdy on the keyboard. It actually doesn't actually bend much or flex much when I actually press it. I'm putting a lot of pressure onto this as well. Now, as for the hinge wise, we do have a bit of a lift at the very end of it, and I'll just do the one finger test so you can have a look at this. It's actually quite smooth to actually open it up, and it is a very consistent feel and smooth to it, and you pretty much go to what I would say 190 degrees for the hinge. I want to make a special mention about this hinge design and also this large gap that is between the base of the laptop and also the display. Now, normally I find I don't really enjoy having the exhaust blowing towards the display, as I find a lot of times that the display is really blocking the airflow of the exhaust. But with this large gap here in this M16, it is actually quite nice because I find there isn't much hindrance and also blockage of the airflow, even in the closed lid mode or even at the 90 degrees mode, as the airflow is able to go up and also go below the laptop and out really easily. And also when you're in what I would say most of the time in the optimal, probably what you call 120 degrees for the angle of the display, it also blows quite easily upwards as well as below. This gap here is quite nice, regardless of the angle of the display. So I think Asus has done a fantastic job on this design. Here's the results of the benchmarks for this Zephyrus M16 2022. This one is configured with an i9-12900H processor with 32 gigs of RAM and 2 terabyte gig SSD, and it's also got the RTX 3070 Ti graphics. Here's the results for Passmark, Citybench R23, PC Mark, 3D Mark, Geekbench 5, Crystal Disk Mark, Procon Office, Procon Photo Edit, Procon Video Edit, Pugin Photoshop, Pugin Lightroom, Pugin Premiere Pro, Pugin DaVinci Resolve, Blender, Luxmark, Furmark, Eugene Engine, and Spec View Pref. And some gaming benchmarks like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry New Dawn, Far Cry 6, Immortal Phoenix Rising, and F1 2021. Overall, with Zephyrus M16, we've got a very good performance coming out of this laptop that is very low profile, and we've got some very powerful components that usually is traditionally very hot running, and this is able to handle all that heat with the thermal solution that Asus has put in, which is absolutely fantastic. We've got a good display that has very good color reproduction, and this is quite bright as well, and it's also has a very fast for those gamers who want very quick response time. And also we've got very good I/O selections for the ports, and we also have very good sounding speakers as well. So And it's also got a very nice design, and it's got a bit of a stealthy design. I've got a good keyboard and trackpad. There's just not much I can say that was bad about this Zephyrus M16. So definitely it's a highly recommend laptop if you are looking for a gaming laptop. So it did take me a bit of time to work out what I think could be done about this M16. And the only thing I can really say is I wish there was a 1080p webcam that was option for us. And also just something that is a concern is just the rubberized sort of feel to over long periods of years of use that could maybe end up being sticky from my experience. But overall, this thing, I love this M16 computer. I can definitely recommend it to anyone. Now, I hope you find this video informative or enjoyed it. If you did, even to support my channel, smash that like button for me. And if you haven't done already, subscribe my channel, but hit that subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. I do try to upload a new video every week, and also have membership as well by clicking that join button if you want to support me further. And as always, imperfections in life makes it beautiful and interesting. And I'll see you next video.